My name is Leah, Shelene, Asaram, and I'm from EIT, and today I'm joined by...
Rahner from Siemens PDY Ltd.
Very lovely to have you. So, based on the current solar power transition in South Africa and all over the world, I have a few questions for you. So my first question is, how do you see the role of solar energy generation evolving in the South African and African renewables market over the next decade? And what challenges and opportunities do you anticipate in this field?
So as we have the most sun days nearly all over the world here on the African continent, I think solar is one of the most important renewable energy supplies which we will have over the next decade. Quite important in that is only solar is not necessarily running your grid, so you always have to use it in a combination in between large solar power plants together with batteries or other storage possibilities, so that you can run your grid, your mini grid or bigger grids really in a safe way, not only for solar. And I think that's the way forward, and hopefully we'll take off now much more.
Hopefully. So my next question is, what are some critical strategies for effectively implementing solar energy projects in Africa, and how can companies and governments work together to ensure the success of these initiatives?
I think that comes onto what I said before. So it's important to have a reliable power supply, because that's our biggest issue. Only solar is not fully reliable, so we have to see how we do the energy mix. Hybrid solutions, solar, pump storage, solar and hydrogen, solar and fuel cells. You have a lot of combinations, and I think the way forward is to effectively use these combinations in certain areas here in South Africa or on the African continent where it's viable. And I think that's the important point as well, to find the best solution for the certain area. And then the biggest issue is we need the right business cases to run it on a viable business, commercially viable way. We need the support of the government, as always, for that. I think the banks, we spoke to a lot of banks, Africa Development Bank, IDC, but as well private banks, they have a huge interest in pushing now energy efficiency and ESG topics. So I think they are ready to go. Now we have to bring the plans to go forward.
Perfect. So my next question is, in your experience, what are some of the most successful examples of solar energy generation, and what lessons can be learned from these projects and applied to future initiatives?
Positive lessons. So we learn. Sure. Let me think about positive lessons. I think we saw in our first 4 phases of the renewable rounds, we saw some positive impact on the solar plants. We see the positive impact actually down in Cape Town or in other places where you have extra pump storage, where they are one level in load shedding different than here. Yeah. So you see it helps even in a smaller scale. And important there as well what shows, and I think what was for the question before, it's important that industries and municipalities and the government work together closely to have these solutions. As I said, you see it there in Cape Town, you see it PE headed for a while with their extra generation, not necessarily renewable, but working there hand in hand, it works. And with the industry, and give then incentives to the industry to help out the government, the municipalities, I think that will push again the investment from the private sector to go forward in the renewable space.
Okay. My last question is, in your view, what is the role of engineers in promoting and advancing solar energy generation in the South African and African renewables market, and how can engineers work with other stakeholders to ensure the successful implementation of solar projects and the continued growth of this industry?
What shall I say? Engineers are the most important part of the project, besides the project manager maybe. But I think engineers are essential. There is no plug and play available in our solutions or in the overall solutions. It's always different, as I said. So engineering always will be one of the most important capabilities. And we have to keep that knowledge, build up the knowledge. One of the main objectives of what we always have is training. And scale up the engineering capabilities of the people in any size of renewable installations. So I think they're essential, well educated, and the open-mindedness of the engineers sometimes to go out of, as I'm self an engineer, go out of the mindsets of only doing that one engineering, but have an open mind towards interface, different solutions. So they have to talk a bit to the developers, people who are developing, learn out of that to engineer it later into the solution. So they're an essential part of the whole topic.
If I can ask you one last bonus question, is what advice would you give to a first year engineering student?
Be open-minded, with all the different solutions. Listen around, be curious about what is not only on the market. So see what is on the market, not only what you learn in university. It's a good basis, but then look around what's happening in the country and try to get good internships. There are a lot of good companies outside, because this is, I think, learning by doing on top of what you're studying. It's still the best thing to do to go the way forward.
Perfect. Well, thank you. We really appreciate it, and that's it for today. Thank you.